we are going to be looking at creepy videos on the internet, strange and odd news stories, and as always, let's go ahead and get right into today's video. Now, before we begin, I do know people in the comment sections of these videos are asking me how can they send me things so I can watch it and ultimately feature on this channel. I do have a website that I have been working on, I hope to release next month, where you all can do just that. I'm very excited and interested to see what you all have, so definitely look forward to that announcement. But with that being said, let's go ahead and begin with the videos. This first video comes from Nightmare Fuel on TikTok, and this video really creeped me out for a couple of reasons. Pay very close attention to this picture in the background as this woman is talking.
Wow, it's 10 p.m. and my day was fully booked with showings of this beautiful vintage 1962. Wow, it's 10 p.m. and my day was fully booked with showings of this vintage 1963 bungalow. Go ahead, do it again. You're on camera. Open this door. Go ahead, open this door. Open this door like you did the other one. Come on, just move the glass or something. Go ahead, do it again. I'm not scared.
If you missed it right before the door opens, if you take a look at this portrait, you can see the face on the portrait darken. So there's no shadow being casted from the door opening because this happens prior to the door opening. Somebody also left a comment that this portrait could be one of those silly Halloween portraits where the face changes, they're on a timer and they change. But if you take a look at those portraits and compare it to this portrait, there is a complete difference. When it comes to those portraits, the faces, they either turn into like something more demonic or undead, something along those lines. But here, the face, the structure of the face doesn't really change to something more demonic or undead like those other portraits do. I mean, you can kind of see the face moving here. That could just be the shadow. But this still does not come off to me like one of those Halloween portraits.
Well, hey everybody, Pastor Aaron here. It's my pleasure just to announce that this Sunday will be, will be open. Okay, we've been trying to do this announcement several times today already, and 3 times that podium back there has fallen over on its own, and it's stable. I mean, it's not wobbly at all. It's kind of like that podium has been wobbling. Okay, so we checked the vent. There's a vent there that is not an air duct that has any forced air at all, so it can't be wobbling from that. There's absolutely no breeze in here. You can see by the banner there. There's no air conditioning. It's these things. They're off. I don't know. So I'm just going to sit here and watch it for a little bit. And we will... Let's see if it does it again. Ooh, that thing's moving. That hasn't been moving. That's new. Seriously, nothing else. There's no breeze. Moving again.
For some time, some of my favorite videos on Minutes of Horror are covering pastors who have not been acting so pastorly at the pulpit, and I think whatever's in this church is trying to warn of something, especially when it comes to this pastor. That's all I'm saying. I mean, he may be a nice guy, he may be a great pastor, but from what I've seen anyway, I'm going to go ahead and roll the dice and say that something, again, is trying to say something. This next creepy video comes from Blake on TikTok, and he's going to go ahead and talk about what he encountered as a police officer on the job.
Hey guys, so I have another story for you. This is an older story. I've shared it before. I'm going to condense it down to one video. This is probably without question the spookiest call I've ever been on in my law enforcement career, and I hope it never gets topped. But anyhow, it was several years ago. I was on the overnight shift. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. It was around Halloween time, so it's already got that spooky season feel. This elderly gentleman who lived out in the country, he drove to town for whatever reason and went to this 24/7 gas station, asked the clerk if he could use the phone to call 911. The clerk, of course, said yes. He calls 911 and tells dispatch something along the lines of like, my wife's missing or she's been kidnapped or something, yada, yada, yada. And to have the officer meet me at our residence. So I go to the residence, and as I pull up and I get out, I don't see any red flags, if you will. Normally in a situation like this, you would see or hear some commotion. You would have something standing out to you. I'm not getting that. It looks very calm, very quaint. I don't know what I'm really walking into at this point. I have terrible officer awareness. I walk up the driveway and I pass his truck, and he hops out of the truck behind me, and as I turn around, he's got a handgun. And he's extremely agitated and upset and emotional at the fact that his wife is missing or kidnapped or whatever it was. So after a few minutes of coaxing the handgun from him and make it safe, I put it on the hood of his truck. I'm like, okay, talk to me, what's going on? And he says, okay, follow me to the house. So I follow him to the house, and as he gets to the door, he says, and I will never forget this, he says, do you believe in God? And I said, yes, I do. And he says, good. And that means you believe in the devil. I'm like, what? So he opens the door. He says, forgive me for all the candles. He says, that's the only way we can keep it out or something like that. And there's no candles, but yet he's tiptoeing through the living room like he doesn't want to step over these mysterious candles. There's no candles. So as I'm walking in the living room and all the furniture's gone, it's just an empty room. Like, I don't know if they're moving or they just moved in. It's just completely bare and empty. Although at every window around the home, I see a rifle or a shotgun, and I see spent shell casings and bullet casings. And I'm like, hey bro, what's up with this? And he said, oh, I've been shooting out at these demons outside all night, trying to keep them out from coming in the house. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, well, we're not going to have that right now. So he lets me make all of his firearms safe, and talking to him, trying to figure out where his wife may be. And then we're in this cabin-esque home, and there's a loft, and I see above us his elderly wife comes to the edge of the loft, and she's wearing this white, like, robe, you know, like something Ebenezer Scrooge would wear. Little creepy looking, you know, and she's just standing there staring down at us. And I'm like, all right, she seems sensible. I'm going to go upstairs. I'm going to talk to her, because obviously he's the issue and we need to get him some mental health treatment. So I'm like, hey, I found her. And he's like, oh, that's great news. That's great news. You know, he's all excited. He's calmed down now. He's like, she's safe. She's sound. Good to go. So I'm like, we should be in and out in 5 minutes. So as I walk up the steps, I go up there and I talk to her and I'm like, hey, ma'am, your husband's having some mental health issues. And she's like, I know. And she's like, I don't know what to do with him. I'm like, I get it. You know, boys will be boys, but I'm going to have to take him to the hospital. And I'm like, I'm going to probably need you to help me out and, you know, convince him to go with me. And I think we're on the same page. And all of a sudden she says, am I in trouble? And I'm like, no. Why would you be in trouble? And she's like, well, I'm curious. And I'm like, well, he's not in any trouble either. But why did you say, are you in trouble? Like, there's something not right about how she said it. And she said, well, because I fed it. I'm like, fed what? She's like, I was feeding the devil babies. And I'm like, what? Like, I get it. He's having a mental health issue, but it's very rare, if not impossible, in my opinion, to have two people having both the same mental health issues. And I'm like, run that back again. And she said, I stole babies, and the only way I could keep the devil happy and away from us, because he broke into the home, was to throw them over the loft, because I'm only safe when I'm up here, elevated, and the devil's down there. I throw the babies over the loft or the balcony, and the devil feeds them. Or I feed the devil. But the problem is he won't leave me alone now. He's attached to me, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Actually, I'm going to go back down and talk to your husband. He's the more sensible one. I'm like, I'm never sleeping again. So I go down the steps. I talk to the husband. I'm like, bro, both you and your wife are going to have to take a trip with me to the hospital. And he is now freaking out. He's trying to run outside. I don't know why. I'm trying to wheel him in. I'm like, dude, I don't want you to go out there. It's pitch black. It's the middle of the night. Like, what is it out there that you need to do? And he's like, I need to get the devil away. I need to get the devil away from my house. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, the devil is throwing the babies into the fire. And I'm like, what? And he said the demons are dancing around the fire, and the devil is in the middle, and he's throwing the babies in the fire, and it's making the fire bigger, and I have to go put out the fire. And I'm like, bro, come back to reality. There is nothing out there. I am looking, and it is pitch black out there. And he's like, oh, you messed up. He's like, you just pissed them off. They're all looking at you now. And he's like, oh, they're running over here. They're running over here. And I'm like, well, shut the shades. Like, I shut the shades, and I'm like, now I'm wigging out. And I'm like, all right, look, we need to come back to reality. Luckily at that time, another deputy shows up. The ambulance shows up. We both convince them to go to the hospital and get some mental health treatment. They do the same thing at the hospital. The doctor's like, I'm going to send them away, and hopefully we can get this fixed. They went away for a few days. They came back, and I never dealt with them again. I never had to go to the house again. Sadly, I did hear that the elderly lady later passed on a few years later. But to this day, I've never had a call where both people were suffering from the same delusion. And in my opinion, there was something extra sinister involved there that's beyond what medicine or therapy could solve, if you will. But I want to know your thoughts. Tell me what you think. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Police officer stories, 911 stories are indeed very interesting, and I have no doubt whatsoever that something sinister was indeed haunting that elderly couple. But when it comes to what police have captured on camera, when it comes to what police have encountered, there is nothing scarier than the Watts family home. This next creepy video comes from Tea and True Crime with Bella, and I have to say, the Chris Watts case is a case that will always creep me out, but I did not know this about the new owners of their home.
The Watts house has to be haunted, because tell me why the new owners of the Watts house are getting a divorce, and allegedly the dad, the husband, put his hands, or was some type of DV situation, or whatever the case may be, towards the wife. This is crazy. So basically the Watts house was put on the market after Shanann, Bella, and Cece were unalived by Chris Watts. It took a while for the house to sell. It was on the market for a long time. I want to say it was on there for $700,000, right? They went ahead and closed on the house, and from what it seemed like, everything was going well. Well, eventually there was a report that there was a call from the wife. They also, mind you, have 2 daughters and 1 son. It's very similar to what Shanann and Chris had. They were going to have a son, and they also had 2 daughters. Anyways, so there was a call of a domestic complaint, and the wife basically said that she felt like her husband was going to put his hands on her. I think he was, either maybe drunk or whatever the case to be. I'm not 100% sure, but there was some type of domestic dispute in the house. Now, he did get arrested, y'all. He did get arrested. I was able to find proof of his arrest. There is a record. Basically, you got to look into, I believe it was Frederick, Colorado. And yeah, it will come up. But anyways, he did get arrested, and they're selling the house. They're getting a divorce and selling the house, allegedly. Now the house is back on the market. I'm not 100% sure if it's sold to a new person yet or not, but it's back on the market again. Y'all, I feel like this house needs to be torn down and turned into a memorial at this point, because why is it every time they sell this house, it's getting back on the market?
What is crazy to me, outside of the parallels between the two families, is that anybody would buy this home in the first place. If you're not familiar with this case, Chris Watts, he ended the life of his wife Shanann inside this home. Then he took his 2 daughters out of the home and ended their lives as well. And his wife Shanann was pregnant with their son. This new family, the Millers, from what I read anyway, a husband, wife, 2 daughters, and a son, they were a happy, loving family. They wanted to buy this home specifically to put love back into it, to brighten the house up. Well, when they moved in, they started to notice more and more changes with the husband. He started to become more and more violent, to the point that his wife had to call the cops on him for a domestic violence charge, and they had to get a divorce and sell the home. This sounds exactly like Amityville. This new family even went to the point of remodeling the entire inside of the home, which I'm sure pissed off whatever spirits were residing in there. Does anybody remember the footage that came out of the police body cams picking up those voices?
Well, there's plenty of her standing here.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. What in the world is that? Wow. Go in there and step on that little blue thing and see if that's where that noise came.
Yeah, it sounded like a kid toy.
It sort of sounds like it.
Something. I heard it.
That one, did you hear it?
I did.
Sounded like a kid giggling or something, didn't it? Or a kid.
It did.
Where did that come from? because all he did was go straight in there. That was strange. Well, we'll make a note of that.
I heard it. I definitely heard the same thing you did.
Yeah, and then he just sort of turned around and looked. But I didn't. It took me just a second to get ready. Was she on any? Oh no, she was pregnant.
Cam footage surfaced in 2019. Body cam footage surfaced of police responding to a call to a vacant house after the neighbors claimed a dark-haired figure entered the home. Now the neighbors knew that no one lived there, so they called the police. This is because a murder had happened there just weeks prior when Chris Watts took the lives of his pregnant wife and 2 daughters. And ever since his arrest, the house sat vacant. Now the deputies knew the history of this home and assumed someone broke in for an easy robbery. And as they began to approach the home, they notice that the garage lights are already on. So they decide to start their search there, and you can tell by their demeanor that they're uneasy.
Cooksy, where you at? We're coming up to the garage. Frederick Police Department, anybody in the garage? Frederick Police Department, make yourself known.
There's no way to get in, like, on the top or anything?
I don't see any access. Just no access points.
Is it sealed off from the top on that side? Yeah, never mind.
By the time they reach the garage, it appears the lights are off, so they look for any entry points the intruder may have used. So while this deputy checks the kitchen, the others investigate upstairs.
Right there. Shut up. Blue coming out.
You can see the officer almost seems nervous as he keeps guard in front of the kitchen. But more importantly, I want you to take note that the officer opens the closet to check for intruders, but then closes it right after. Because this will be an important detail in the next clip as the officers are getting ready to leave after clearing the entire home.
Like vents like those that are big enough that maybe they open and go like that.
Let's go clear upstairs.
Almost.
Frederick Police Department, anybody upstairs? Frederick Police Department, anybody upstairs? Make yourself known. You guys want to cover me? I'll grab the gate. Okay.
I'll hold down here.
Did you see it? Because as the officer pans the body cam, it looks like the closet is opening entirely on its own. Now whether this is paranormal or not, this has led many people to believe that this house is haunted. And it should be noted that Chris Watts was given 5 life sentences and has gone on record saying that every night in his jail cell that he's haunted by the spirits of his family. But as always, let me know what you think.
This next creepy video comes from the paranormal chick on TikTok, and I'm noticing more and more that when it comes to very bad accidents, I'm talking about accidents where people lose their lives and a photo is taken, it seems like something else is also in that photo. What I mean is something more paranormal in nature. For example, this photo here of a bad motorcycle accident where the driver lost his life and you can see above him what looks like a spirit. But it seems like another apparition was captured in this photo of a very bad accident.
The following photos are sadly from a fatal accident out of Florida. And what's in these photos is what's captured everybody's attention. Look at the brush off to the shoulder. It appears to be some sort of apparition or being huddled there. Is this somebody from the accident itself, or is this something else? Take a look at this. Comment below.
This photo actually reminds me of another creepy photo that was floated around on the internet. This creepy video comes from Question Everything on TikTok.
Imagine capturing a soul, leaving a body, screaming. This real-life story will send chills down your spine. In 1984, 16-year-old John Bulwer was in a tragic car accident with his friends just days after Christmas. Driving down a dark, misty road, the car lost control on a sharp curve, crashing into a group of trees. John, sitting in the front seat, did not survive. But what police captured on camera that night, it is truly unexplainable. The image that you're looking at reveals a very chilling manifestation. Above the hood of the car, a profile of a boy's face, screaming. Many believe it was John's soul leaving his body. Here's a closer look. And the eerie part, the photo was taken just minutes after the crash, possibly while John's spirit was crossing over. When compared to John's picture, the resemblance was undeniable. Was this proof of his soul's final moments? Believe in the paranormal, or think there's another explanation?
Make no mistake about it, that definitely does look like the profile side of his face, even right down to his hair. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel and you want to see more, please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, please like, as any engagement does help the channel grow. Once again, thank you so much for your support.